everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sports Entertainment Weekly Cricket. As usual, we are back with a slightly controversial topic that has split the cricketing audience into two or possibly more. I think even here we have three different opinions. Today, we are going to dissect one of the hottest, newest rules in the cricketainment space, that is the impact player rule. For those who aren't super active with IPL, which should be a surprise given our audience and the comments that we find in the chat box. Looks like people are actually over invested in IPL. But on the off chance that we have people who aren't fully engrossed in what is going on, the impact player rule is something IPL introduced last year, which allowed teams to substitute a player, a batter or a bowler during their innings as per the demands of the match. Very similar to how a substitution in football works. You have a player on the pitch, you just replace them, and usually people use it to the specialist advantage. If you're a batter, somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav, who's a pure batter, he just comes and bats for one innings, and then when it's time to bowl, Mumbai bring in a bowler. It's as simple as that. And it has been around for 2 years now, 2 seasons, but still a lot of eyebrows and recent remarks from somebody who clearly cannot stay away from the spotlight. And it's not the Mumbai captain, it's the Mumbai ex-captain, Rohit Sharma, who came in with a very controversial take, saying that the impact sub rule is not great for cricket. It's good for entertainment, but not great for cricket, and in particular, the all rounders. Before I open the floor for discussion, I have a trivia question for you two. Who was the first ever player to have been impact subbed in a game from last IPL, basically?
Is it from RCB?
No, but this player did get to a 50.
Did
I'll give
Ajinkya
that.
Rahane by any chance?
No. Okay, I'm going to quickly fact check because I said 50. I don't want 100 people in the comments contesting, but I know they certainly got a 40 plus. It's actually Tushar Deshpande. It was one of the most horrendous performances for any bowler, and it was
Who
a
was he
real
subbed
shame.
with?
I don't know. I can look that up.
If it was
Yeah,
Ajinkya
but
Rahane,
while you look it up,
I want
Chris,
half a point.
while you look it up, Chris, you said that it's the newest rule, or rather, the rule that's actually caught everyone's attention of late. I just want to bring everyone's attention to like 20 years back, approximately, when this was actually a substitute rule introduced in the one-day international format, the format which is right now one of the most hated, or rather, the format which is in the most decline, I would say. So they brought this rule. ICC brought this rule into one-day internationals to spice it up a bit, and this was around 2005, 2006, around the time when 2020 was being experimented. I'm not sure yet if the English counties started playing 2020 at that point in time. They were the ones who first played that competition before anyone else actually started commercializing it, whether it was the Indian Cricket League or the IPL, which came later after that. So this was brought in as a substitute rule where captains had to, give away to the umpires on information on the playing 11, along with another player who will actually act as a substitute in the game. So who was called as the super sub. Uh, was very much used at that point in time, but it really took away the toss advantage of teams, just like how it is doing right now. And it just fizzled out after a point. And a year later, ICC scrapped the rule, got it, pulled it back, and then the rest is history. After 2020, cricket was born, and 2020 was a success in England when it was born, and then post that the Rebel League in India, the ICL started, and then IPL and Lalit Modi happened, and the rest is actually full of all the big butts that we saw, right? So it was not the first. It is not the first time that we are seeing this right now in IPL or T20 cricket. It was long back experimented by ICC in one-day internationals to spruce it up a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think a couple of nuances to add on about the impact sub rule in the IPL. So, despite there being a 12th player allowed, only 4 international players can feature in the match. So, if a team has to bring in an international player who's a substitute, they have to only have 3 international players in their first 11. And you can't replace an international player with an international player if
Oh,
you already have chosen 4. Another is that you have to uh, you can have like 2 different lineups depending on uh, the toss. So if you win the toss and bat first, then you can have an extra batter and then sub in the bowler later. Vice versa. If you bowling first, then you can have the extra bowler and then uh, get in the batter while batting.
yep.
Yeah, so I
It's
think
interesting that
yeah, go for it, Chris.
go ahead, Kendall.
No, I was just saying that one, we spoke about the super sub rule which came in, and two, we spoke about how the impact player role is actually impacting the IPL and the flavor for the audiences. Uh, Archit, thanks for explaining to our viewers on what it actually means to IPL and T20 cricket in general. Uh, the BBL in Australia. I apologize to the audience for bringing an Australian reference. I just looked it up. So we had this rule called the X Factor player. Of course, it also fizzled out with not many teams actually using it a lot, because the BBL last year was full of complicated rules which were introduced to spice up the BBL, because it was actually declining a bit, and in terms of viewership, audiences, sponsors, everything. So they wanted to spice it up a bit
Fantastic.
again by introducing a string of new rules, the power surge, the X Factor player, and a lot of them. So the X Factor player is someone who actually would be replaced and would come into play after the 10th over in an inning. So it's got
Mm,
too many complications, and it would replace a player who hasn't played much, like a bowler who hasn't
yeah.
bowled more than an over, or a batter who hasn't actually batted at all. So it is a lot of headache for coaches and support
It's like
staff.
solving a math
Yeah,
problem.
exactly. For coaches and support staff who are sitting in the dugout to actually figure out who should go when and if they can go at a given point in time in the game. That actually took away a lot of time from the game, and audiences also didn't appreciate it. So I think that's not going to happen next year in the BBL. But if you ask me if it's actually working in the IPL right now, I would say it takes out the balance that between the ball and the bat, but because you can actually use anyone at any point in time, and it's a batter friendly game that as we have actually seen. So uh, it's now become more, or rather batter friendlier than it was ever before, because people tend to use impact player who's actually a batter than a bowler, bowling all rounder, or whatever that case may be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think before we get down to the pros and cons of it, we should talk about what some of the powerful personalities in cricket have been talking about it. So, Chris, you want to talk about what Rohit Sharma mentioned recently on a competitor podcast?
Yeah. So I'm gonna paraphrase what Rohit said. It was essentially about how all-rounders are a decline, right? He called out how it's entertaining, but kills the development of all-rounders in the larger picture. And our fellow Australian supporter and former cricketer Ricky Ponting, he took the most diplomatic stance, and we need to call out Ponting. By the way, somebody should. We are all fans of him, especially Gandalf and I. But this Ponting's goody two shoes image somehow after the retirement, saying everything that will please the broadcasters and even the Indian supporters need to be talked about. Anyway, so this was Ponting's response about the impacts abroad. So basically, him, Rohit Sharma, they were all on the podcast together. And pontings is not straightforward. I can answer it in two ways. It will be really interesting to hear what the public thinks. If the everyday viewer likes it, then it's good, then it can continue. If the average viewer is confused by it, let's check it out. That's the most vanilla response you
Yeah,
can give.
I think
I
it's
think he
about
did add how it's
how.
right.
Yeah, I feel it's about how we look at the game, each of us, and each of us are entitled to look at the game the way we want. And I think the way Ponting probably looks at it, or most of the business folk in IPL or 2020 cricket look at it, is as a product. And that's the way people have started looking at even one day cricket or test cricket. How do we actually market this product? And 20 cricket is the marquee product as far as ICC is concerned in terms of revenue generation, right? So, if you're looking at it as a product, then obviously you will look at what the spectators say, how it will actually entertain them, will it bring in the money, and all those things. So, I think then
Yeah.
you will always be for impact player rule.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. And if you look at first principles, let's think of what a good rule change in a game like cricket or in any sport. What should it have? Is it increasing the skill in the game? I believe this rule is because you will have more specialist batters who get a chance to bat instead of all rounders. You will have more specialist bowlers instead of Marcus Stoinis like bowlers who practically are bits and pieces players in T20 cricket. Uh, that's one. Second, is it fair to both teams? I think it's definitely fair to both teams. Is it changing something in the game inherently? No, it is just introducing uh, one more element to the game. It's not changing the game per se. It's still a game between bat and ball. Uh, and I think given that, uh, overall, I believe very good change. Uh, Talking about Rohit's criticism, he said that there are not enough all rounders that will feature. I that's absolutely fair. I think that's a very fair argument, and that's true. But you also have to see that better bowlers will bowl to better batters. Teams will get a chance to bat till 8, as we've seen Dhoni coming in at 8 and smashing the bowlers. We've seen Abhishek Sharma, who probably wouldn't have featured initially in the IPL if not for the impact sub rule. And that's another positive of the impact sub rule, that more Indian talent, and we know how much Indian talent exists uh, in cricket, and more Indian talent is able to uh, ply their trade and show what they've got. So yeah, I think those are my main arguments.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
I agree
uh,
with.
meanwhile, meanwhile,
Yeah.
there's a match going on right now, and SRH have just smashed 125 in the power play. 125.
Do they
One
even
more.
need an impact player? I think
Yeah,
they are just single-handedly taking on teams with the batters, and their top order is solid, strong, and the middle order is not bad either. They have one after the other coming after the bowlers, so the opposition has nowhere to hide or run.
Okay, funny you should say that. A quick rundown of the stats say Travis Head has been involved in most of their impact substitutions. Basically, he comes, smashes, kills the contest, and then goes back to the dressing.
it's really funny, if somebody who doesn't watch cricket regularly, and like they probably watch football, and they see the impact sub rule, or the impact sub getting
Used
executed
on
in
him.
cricket, they'd think that the coach or captain is genius, like Travis Head, Surya Kumar Yadav being impact sub. But obviously it's
Yeah,
not the same case. Like
yeah.
you have horses for courses, or like horses for a particular skill,
Mm,
rather than in
yeah.
football, where the reason for subbing a player out uh, is because the main player is often tired and he's injured or he's not doing well. That's not the case here.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think this
I
is
really
speaking.
love how
Go for it, Chris. Yeah.
I love how much it has influenced the influence domestic talent has had in IPL, especially players like Ashutosh Sharma, um, who's doing wonders for Punjab. Somebody like him wouldn't be in the level if it weren't for the liberty to introduce a 12th player in the game, or a fringe player like Josh Butler, who is perennially the first consideration but off the bench, the 12th best player on the team. He just walked in the other day as an impact sub and took the game by storm. I think in that sense, impact sub rule really allows more talent to shine at the end of the day. Instead of fielding 11 versus 11, you are fielding 12 versus 12. Fundamentally,
Not
that's
Dimply
one more.
Dobblers.
That's one more opportunity for somebody else that would have otherwise not made the cut to the team. But I would like if it were just kept to the domestic talent. I think that really lets new players from the local circuit shine. Although I don't really have complaints, because as we see, it is indeed them that get featured the most.
I think yeah, you're right, Chris. That 12 versus 12, it's still okay. Uh, but if you ask a cricket purist, they would probably be not in favor of it. I'm really not fully for. I'm still yet to make my mind up about this rule. To be honest, I don't know where I actually stand on this issue. As Ponting calls out, or anyone else who's actually enjoying it calls out, I would say that it's probably something which hasn't really mattered as a spectator, other than the entertainment factor. You're just basically getting more of what you like seeing, right? So you
Exactly.
like seeing your best players go off, tee off on their good field day, and that's what we are actually witnessing with the impact players. Of course, when the impact player fails, then probably it's something which hurts the team which has actually used it. But otherwise, it's just going to be a bonus for the viewer. That's how I look at
Yeah,
it.
but I want to
Yeah, the
unpack.
go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just ask this question. Maybe you can pick it off from there. I want to unpack some of the downsides to it, because that's what Rohit Sharma is talking about, and that's what Ponting agrees with in terms of how it's a nightmare for coaches. Everybody knows the advantages, right? So you get an extra player on the field, and somebody's weakness gets diminished big time. But what are the downsides to? Where are the teams suffering? So let's not get into how this is probably affecting India's all-rounder stances in the World Cup. That is a more macro discussion. But based on what we have seen so far, where has that hurt teams the most?
It's an interesting question. I think teams who had put in a lot of all-rounders in their squad, they are at a disadvantage clearly. And teams who had put in a lot of specialists
Yes.
in their squad, they are at an advantage. But I don't think the advantage or the disadvantage is massive. A good hitter in T20 cricket, irrespective of him being an all-rounder or a pure batsman, he will still feature. A Tewatia, he still features. The difference is that a
Yeah.
Tewatia is not bowling anymore, or a Dubai is not bowling anymore. Uh, on that, I think there is the simple way in which teams have used this, as we discussed earlier, is just swap the Indian batter for the Indian bowler, or the Indian bowler for the Indian batter, depending on uh, the who won the toss or who's batting first. But some teams have used this in a very innovative way. I will talk about the example of Rajasthan Royals. Now, Rajasthan Royals often keeps three international players in their first 11, irrespective of if they're batting or bowling, and say they trust their batters so much that they think that if our six batters who are able to do the job, then look, we'll not bring in the batter as a substitute during the batting innings. But just in case, they are down, like 6 down for say 75, then they will bring in the extra batter. So they're actually taking a risk. It's a high risk strategy rather than the boring old strategy that I mentioned earlier. But it is innovation. So, and if there are 6 batters with the job, then they bring in the extra bowler, which is a bonus, which is not a bowler they needed as such, but it's just a bonus bowler who will give you 2 overs. They did this with Keshav Maharaj. So despite having Ashwin, Chahal in their 11, they because their batters did the job and they didn't need the extra batter, they brought in Keshav Maharaj during the bowling innings, and Keshav actually did quite well for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. One offbeat downside that I would say in the course of the game, it may not amount to much, but I see a lot of brilliant fielders missing out. Players like Travis Head, Surya Kumar Yadav, especially if they bat first and they just go back to the dressing room. Imagine if that rule was there in the World Cup and Travis wasn't on the field on November 19th. That would have changed the game big time. So
What,
I,
what
I, I
about
don't I
never
don't think
been
I also have seen a lot of fielding brilliance this time. I can't think of many spectacular catches because your usual suspects who do that, they are rarely on the field at all times.
the defense given by captains often is that the guy, even if he's a better fielder like Travis Head or Surya Kumar Yadav, they probably are suffering a niggle. So it's better to keep them out just as a conservative strategy rather than to get them in.
I think it should just go back to how Test cricket uses subs, right? Only substitutes for fielding, and for no other reason, and
And concussions.
and concussions, of course.
If you remember this.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely it takes some time for the viewer to observe, for the players to observe that this is actually a new rule. There is going to be a 12 versus 12. It takes off the predictability of a match with respect to the toss, and it can go anyway. And of course, it brings in a lot of drama till the last ball is bowled. You can never predict a clear winner. So I think that's where this rule is actually a big success. Where it fails is taking away the little advantage that the bowlers may have at times, and I feel that it still could be, still go the batter's way than it is now. So
I,
because most teams are actually using it for their batter, and that's where
I'm
it's actually.
But
not sure
I
that's
disagree
true.
there, Kandal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
Chris, go
on.
ahead.
No,
Okay, I'll
I
go.
think I was yeah.
I think so. If you're able to use an extra batter, you're also able to use an extra bowler. You don't have to have again your Dubes, your Marcus Stoinis, uh, your Tiwaris to ball the quota of the 5th bowler. You will have a specialist bowler. It's about the skill of the bowler. I think the skill levels will improve because, as any fellow economist would know, competition actually improves both parties. So yeah, I think the bowling right now is not quite there, but it will be there soon, and I think it gives an equal opportunity for bowlers and batters.
I think
Maybe,
you nicely
maybe
summed up what
some people suggested that a bowler should actually get 5 overs instead of 4, which may tilt it slightly in the balance of
MI's
bowlers.
favor.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
not
but
a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. I think that brings in some balance. Like I would also bring in some parallel where draw some parallel with the 100. Although there's a lot of criticism of the 100 as a format, and
yeah.
I love the format personally. So
that's where cricket goes to die when you're using 100 as your source of
I'll tell you
inspiration.
what. I'll tell you
Babar
what. I
Azam
mean,
wasn't selected in the 100. I will boycott the 100 for those.
We should be
despite
back.
the fact that it is actually it is the most criticized format in the game. but it is actually drawing a lot of youngsters in England to the game. So you can't deny that a lot of Gen Z and the current, 5-year, 6-year-old folks who are just in school, and Gen Alpha, perhaps, I don't know what they call them, but these are the folks who are actually drawn to the 100, and because it's simple to understand. But at the same time, why I'm actually bringing this topic is because you may expect a newer format to be even more batter friendlier with how the game is evolving. But then it brings in something for the bowlers in the form of having a double set. Like a bowler can continuously bowl 2 sets. So a set is usually a 5-ball over, and the captain can choose to give the a bowler another chance to bowl consecutive 10 deliveries in a trot.
Interesting.
So that's actually something which is in favor of the bowler, especially if someone is actually doing well. And let's say someone like Bumrah is on a rampage, bowled a set of 5 and got 2 wickets in that set of 5. You will give another set of 5 to actually for a new batter to actually face Bumrah. So why not bring in some balance like that? Even if the format is new, I would appreciate the ECB for trying something new there in favor of the bowler.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it just hasn't got to do with the impact sub rule as such. I think both Archit and I feel impact sub rule is even or equally fair to both the batters and bowlers. I think a bunch of these new rules are new discourses in themselves, right? And but based on what you said, looks like the 100 is the R&D department of cricket. It's a lot of investment, very little return,
Yeah.
but occasionally you capture lightning in a bottle. I really like
Where,
this
where,
two
where
sets.
else do you
We
where
used
else
to
do
have
you
it in
actually
gully.
where else do you actually get to see so many different colors, like a bunch of lollipops and candy sticks walking around on a cricket field, right? So and I secretly feel that the SRH team kit is also inspired by the Birmingham Phoenix, which is also somewhere like orange candy type. So
I'm surprised
probably
you didn't quote any of the KFC Big Bash
KFC,
teams.
BBL Big
I'm
Bash
sure
teams.
a Renegade or somebody must have an orange cake there.
Orange is, I think, Perth Scotches. They are
Oh, it's
usually on
Scotches,
fire.
of
So
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I feel that's not the kind of orange that you see in the 100. It's more like a lollipop walking around. So I feel that SRH has actually nailed that jersey. But
Yeah.
coming back to the
I
serious
think.
business of what we are actually talking about
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it. Archie.
Yeah, overall, I think speaking of R&D departments, every sport, like every organization, needs to evolve, and for evolving, it needs to experiment. And I think I love these experiments, the IPL and the 100 and these small leagues. I think they're the best places to experiment, and then eventually take those experiments to international cricket. Any organization, they eventually die out because they become too stagnant, and like I think this was happening with F1, for example. F1, before it was bought over by Liberty Media, Bernie Eccleston, how do I pronounce his name? He said that, look, F1 is just for us European elites. We don't want it. We don't want it to be sold to these young kids, women. And then Liberty Media bought it over, and they've expanded it so much to the United States. They've launched a Drive to Survive, which has increased the number of F1 viewers. So my point being that sport should keep experimenting, keep an open mind. It should maintain its sanctity as the main game shouldn't change, like it's not with the impact sub rule like it did with F1, but these small incremental changes should keep on happening.
Yeah, I'm
And
good with.
and remember in 2007, India was against T20 cricket. We were not very serious about it, but look, now India earns the most amount of money from T20 cricket in the world. So change is
Literally
good.
took them
To summarize,
just a year. They saw it at the World Cup and they were like, you know what, this is a money machine. I am in favor of the rules as long as you pilot them or
Absolutely.
There is this unspoken rule that we can go back on it. Don't set things in store. For example, another one of the discourses is around reviews for your wides, right? How whether there needs to be any tweaks to the rule. Should a team be capped to one review per innings or something like that? Because we see a lot of teams, just batsmen, bowlers, keep challenging the wides every other ball, and that doesn't make for a good flow of the entertainment. So that's one thing that a lot of chatter around if it should be reconsidered. Same for impact sub rule. Just have some kind of evaluation in place. Um, See whether it's working out and be open to going back and saying, hey, we gave it a go, but you know what? It's better as it was. If that
I
is
think the
there, and because all evolution is not positive changes, right?
You know what will improve the impact sub rule? If the impact sub who comes in has entrance music, and suddenly just the stadium becomes
It's
dark,
just
and and there's entrance music that plays, and then the audience knows who the impact sub
no,
is who
nobody
will come.
knows. You have to like pick players from part. Then they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Then glass shatters, and then you
Like I
watch
think a
who
few
they.
players now have their own songs which have become
Yeah,
signatures for the signature for the DJ to play when they come in. Like
yeah.
Dhoni has Bole Jo
Tony.
Koyal.
Who?
Dhoni has that song Bole Jo Koyal. It's a meme, and now
Oh
it's
no, no,
become,
no, no! At CSK, he
yeah.
has தலைவர் songs.
In Chennai,
Rajni
yes, but
songs.
in the
Okay.
Hindi speaking states, it's Bole Jo Koyal because it's now become a meme.
Really?
And the meme was
Yeah.
actually the meme has now become an ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want to summarize. I mean, thanks for summarizing, Chris. I just want to leave with this one thought from my end, that I would think that the biggest thing bothering spectators is the waste of time that happens on a cricket field. And thanks for mentioning the way
Yeah.
these guys use reviews for looking at wides, no balls, and the minor flick of the bails by the wicket keeper, even after knowing that the batsman's foot was clearly behind the line and things like that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing bothering the spectator is clear waste of time and loss of time. I think if cricket can improve this facet or in all the formats that they are actually having at this moment, then nothing like it. Even in Test cricket, invent a way or devise a way how rain delays or bad light delays could be avoided. Rain delays, it's still understandable. Bad light delays, come on, start early, do something, put on the damn floodlights, do something about it, and let the spectator watch the match. Probably this makes for a good chat next time around we connect about all the stupid rules that cricket has, and how they can actually evolve those rules or deprecate or move away certain rules which are pretty archaic and don't make sense in the modern world of cricket. So probably we can actually have another chat or discussion around these things. In 2020 cricket, a lot of time actually gets wasted, despite the fact that ICC has tried and all the boards try to finish off the game within a span of 4 hours. They still delay it. Players themselves are responsible for it sometimes, and umpires too. So yeah, Archit, your final thoughts.
No, I nothing more to share. I think this was a very good discussion. Slightly tilting in the favor of the impact sub rule, but I think we discussed more than that, and I'm glad we did.
All
All right,
right.
then that calls for the close. Thank you, Kriska, for setting this up. Thanks, Archit, and all our viewers who have been watching this. Let's probably see how this goes through the IPL, and hope the impact player doesn't play a major role in the playoffs and in the finals. Then it will become even more controversial than it is now. And we will come back to talk about this and more in the upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching.
We'll fight with
Subscribe.
you in the comment boxes and on Twitter. So,
Absolutely. And
see
thanks for
you.
watching. Subscribe, like, share. See you around
Sounds nice,
later.
friends.